What's up guys? Today we're going to be showing you how to install SuperATV's cargo rack for the Can-Am Maverick X3, so let's get right to it. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab our strut and one of our heims. Just go ahead and thread that on. You do not want to tighten this yet. We're just going to run it up by hand. So it should look just like that. Then we're going to grab all 4 of our M5 Allen headed screws as well as all 4 of our M5 nylock nuts. We're going to put our handle inside of our assembly here. We're going to grab our catch stops. So these catch stops will sit on the back side just like so. But what I'm going to go ahead and do first, so we are going to install the latch assembly. So once we have our hardware started through, we'll grab our nylock nuts, roll it over like this, go to the back side here, just go ahead and start those nuts on. It's kind of holding itself in place there. What you can do is lip one side with the nut, the other side just slide it over the stud or the thread so it'll sit just like that, stay in position for you. Slip it, lip it, put the nut on. And we're just going to go ahead and tighten these up. So it's going to be an 8mm socket on the back side here. And then it will be a 3mm Allen. So now what we're going to do is grab our strut with our heim on it, our M10 shoulder bolt, and 2 of our spacers, and then your bracket. You want the hardware to be coming in from this side, so the side that has the tab. So what I like to do is take my spacer, lay it in there. Get my hardware just barely started through the spacer, like so. Take our heim, line it up, and just kind of flip this up and slide this other spacer in. And this is going to be the strut mount in the instructions when you're looking at what component this is. So you should have a right and a left. They should look just like so. Now you're going to grab your shelf. If you look at it, you're going to have a stud protruding out the bottom. You're going to grab the M10 jam nut, thread that down onto the stud, just like so, and then grab your heim. Go ahead and thread that on there as well. We're not fully tightening anything quite yet. I'm just going to run this down on here enough to where it just kind of sits in place. We'll do the same thing on the other side of the shelf. Now we're going to grab our M6 Allens out of the kit as well as our M6 nylocks. We're going to go ahead and couple both sides of the shelf together. Right down the middle of each of them there's going to be a hole. Just line that up. Pop the hardware through. Some of the holes might be tight. You can just take a ratchet, run those through there. We'll just go down all the way through here, get all the hardware started through the holes, and then we will fully tighten them. All right, so for this next step, you're going to want to rotate your rack to where these tabs are facing you. You're going to grab 3 of the bushings. 2 of the bushings are going to go in just like this. So they go in with the flat side of the bushing towards the inside, and then this side in like that. So they'll fit in there just like so. We already have them in there. We just have them in there because it's a little awkward to get them in. We didn't want to drop them. So we got them on, and we're gonna grab our shelf mount. Now, we're working on the right side, so we're gonna have the right side shelf mount. What you're gonna do is take this bushing here, put it in just like this, and then just to kind of help you make it a little bit easier before you try to install your shelf mount, go ahead and grab your M12 shoulder bolt with your M12 flat washer and just barely slide it through. Just something like that. So this is gonna go together as an assembly. You're gonna have a plastic washer that's gonna lay up on this side, and you wanna make sure that this tab is facing towards the inside of the rack. So I'm just gonna lip it in, get everything lined up, just like that. So just to kind of better elaborate here on what we did, we have a bushing on the outside with the machine side going into the tab. We have our plastic washer. Then we have a bushing that's going into our shelf bracket. And we have another bushing going out like this. The hardware, so the head of the hardware needs to be on the outside facing away. We have the M12 washer, slid it through, and then put an M12 nylock nut. All right, so if your machine has the remote reservoir shocks on it, what you're gonna wanna do is loosen your clamp and rotate these to where they sit straight up. Then we're gonna grab a T30 Torx. We're gonna come back here to the corner of the bed. There's gonna be a T30 back here. And then what we're gonna do is come to the bottom side directly below it, and there will be a 10mm nut. So I'm just gonna put a wrench on the nut down here. So there's that nut. Like I said, I just had a wrench down there on the bottom. And then we're just gonna unthread this out of the bed. Usually they're pretty tight, so you have to unthread them. This one came out pretty easy, actually. Just grab it, wiggle it around, pull it out, and we will go ahead and discard the factory hardware. Now what we're gonna do is take our LDPE spacer out of the kit, and then our long M6, slide the M6 through here on this front hole on our bracket. So this is our strut bracket that we previously assembled. And the spacer needs to go down in the pocket that that factory bolt came out of. So we'll just take it, line it up with the hole. Wiggle around. Again, a lot of times that hole's pretty tight. It's hard to get the hardware through, so just take something and thread it down through there. I'm just gonna grab my electric ratchet, just apply some downward pressure. All right, so it's all the way through. We're gonna grab the provided M6 nut, and then just go back down there to the bottom side. It's just gonna protrude out of the frame section down there. It's really easy to get a hold of. We'll just take our 10mm nut, our ratchet, and we're just gonna go ahead and run this up. All right. So we're gonna grab our M6x25. There should only be 2 of these in the hardware kit. You're gonna need 1 for each side. Then our bed mount. This bed mount's gonna line up right here in this pocket, so it'll fit the shape. Just go to the bottom side, slide it in, and then just line your bracket up. And then you can just thread your hardware directly into that. Once you have it good and started, just go ahead and fully tighten it, and fully tighten your 10mm nut as well. Come over here, we'll go ahead and fully tighten this. Our first hardware that we put in, it is a 10mm wrench, 4mm ounce. Now you're gonna go ahead and grab these out of the kit. Just thread them right onto the strut. We'll just loosely thread them on now. We're gonna have to make some adjustments. Now remove your stock cage hardware. We're gonna do this on both sides. So the hardware that we just removed from the cage is gonna go right through these brackets here. I'm gonna have to get somebody to help me put this on. I highly recommend that you get somebody to help you install this, but what we're gonna do is take this, lay it up there, and just get the hardware through. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this hardware down, just because it makes it a little easier to tighten it out here than it does on the unit. So tighten this hardware for your bracket, and then get this laid up on the cage, and get the hardware, the factory hardware, slid through this, get the nuts started. So now what we're gonna do, since we have our rack laid into position, we're gonna take our shoulder bolt and then one of our spacers, slide it through, line it up here, and go ahead and get our nuts started, just like that. We're gonna do the same thing for the opposite side. Obviously, we need to make quite a few adjustments here to get this rack lowered down. Also, another thing you need to be sure of is that the flat portion of this piece here is facing towards the rear of the machine. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down all the hardware that's securing the bracket to the cage. We might have to make some adjustments, but it's just gonna make it easier if these are tightened down. Now we're gonna grab our faceplate and install it to our rack. Just gonna line the holes in the faceplate up with the holes on the rack. And we're gonna use our last little bit of M6 hardware. Now fully tightened. Now we're gonna grab our cable and we are going to get it installed. So you just wanna take the ball end of the cable and line it up in the hole in the back side of this bracket here. Make sure that you take your nut off before you try to install your cable. Just slide it through. What I'm gonna do is just run this up just a few threads for now, and we will have to make some adjustments. We want it to be equal side to side. Just gonna throw a quick adjustment on that, just to get everything lined up and get everything installed, and then we'll have to go back and fine tune. So that's how the cable hooks up here. Then you're gonna go up here to your handle, and it'll hook up just like that. It's gonna slide over the tab. Now we're gonna grab our cable, remove our nut, go ahead and hook our cable on at the top. Looks like we have a little bit too much length there, so we're gonna pull some out of this side over here. And take your washer, slide the washer on, and take your pin and slide your pin in, just like so. Now we're gonna grab our clip and attach it to our cable, and then just go up here and line up the small hardware. It's gonna be the smallest hardware in the kit with the threaded hole in the rack. Go ahead and snug that up and grab our other clip. Do the same thing with this threaded hole here. So once you have your cable laying where you need it, just go ahead and tighten down the hardware. Then we're gonna repeat all these same steps for the opposite side. So the last piece to bolt on to your rack is gonna be these brackets. Now these are optional. You can run them if you want to, you don't have to. The hardware that you'd use to mount them is gonna be the only last bit of hardware that you have in the kit. You're gonna have some long ones and some short ones. You know, it's totally up to you whether you mount them or not. Today we're not gonna mount them on this. We're gonna end up running a spare tire and a few other things up here, so we're not gonna use those mounts just quite yet. So one of the most tedious parts about this rack is gonna be making all the fine tuning adjustments. We showed you how to hook everything up. The biggest thing is that you want this to be level across. You want it to be adjusted the same on both sides. Same thing on the cables. You want to make sure that whenever you release this handle, that it locks your struts in place to where it doesn't just continuously go up and down. So you'll have to thread them in, thread them up and down a little bit, figure out where that fine-tuned point is, adjust your jam nuts, multiple different bits of adjustment on this. Once you get it fully adjusted, that's all there is to it to install SuperATV's cargo rack on this Can-Am Maverick X3. Be sure to check the description below to pick yours up today. And while you're there, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.